My name is Carlie Linde. My husband's name is Linde. And we had a son this summer, and his name was Azariah Ricky Linde, and we call him Azzi. Azzi as in snazzy.
And he has certainly inspired a pretty snazzy idea from you. What are you all doing?
We will be flying out to San Diego, and we have already shipped our tandem bike there. So we will be bicycling across the country from San Diego to Jacksonville, Florida. And we're going to have a baby seat on the back that is empty because our son passed away this summer.
What inspired you to do that?
Well, my husband biked across the country when we were in college, and I have always wanted to do that with him. And then as we kind of grew older, we've been married for almost 8 years. We really wanted to do that with our children someday. His whole family, they're like his aunts and uncles and their kids do all these adventurous things together, like biking across the Grand Canyon or something. So that just sounds like so much fun to do with children. So we had planned to do that with Azzi and with other kids that we had when they got older. Um, and so when Azzi passed away, I felt like we should just go ahead and do it with him, with his memory, so that we could hope that other people don't have to do the same thing.
Say a little bit about your story and your pregnancy, and tell us a little bit about Azzy's life.
So I had a super normal pregnancy up until 26 weeks. I even asked the doctor at my 20-week appointment. I was like, I keep seeing all these things. Like, if this happens, well, that's normal. If this happens, then that's normal. But what happens if none of that happens? Is that normal? And she said, yeah, maybe you will just have a really easy pregnancy. And I was like, okay, I can handle that. That's fine. And then the day after the day one of my 26th week, I had a headache, and I'd had it the previous 2 nights, but I've had a history of headaches that last a long time, so I wasn't really concerned. But I did sign up for, baby center emails that come in once each week of your pregnancy. And I do remember slightly seeing something about preeclampsia or blood pressure or swelling, headaches, something like that. Those words kind of pop out in my mind. So I had a headache. I went to see my husband at work, and he just said maybe it's just a headache. And I was like, okay. So I went to have coffee with a friend just to try to get my mind off of it. And I told her what was going on. And completely randomly, she's never had a baby. She had been reading Reader's Digest at her parents' house and saw an article about preeclampsia. And she said, that is kind of what it sounds like. I was like, okay, well, I have an appointment tomorrow already. And she's like, I think you should call right now. And she is a super calm person, and the look of terror in her eyes kind of scared me. So I called and I told them what was going on, and they weren't too concerned until I said I thought I had high blood pressure, because I had a cuff at home from like 10 years ago, and I thought it might be wrong. And I didn't really even know what the numbers meant, but the little yellow warning light showed up. So I told her that, and she said right away, well, why don't you come in right now? We'll be waiting. And I was grateful, but obviously a little concerned that she told me to come in right away. So I did. She took my blood pressure twice in 15 minutes and said I should go to the local hospital near my hospital where I would have been delivering, and they were just going to check me out. So I got there. By the time I got there, it was 190 over 100 is when I came in and they checked my blood pressure. So they gave me several different rounds of medications. Nothing was helping. Finally, the last one they gave me did stabilize it a little bit. I think the 160 range. So once that was okay, they sent me in an ambulance to the bigger hospital in the next town that has a NICU in case I had to deliver right away. So then we spent 10 days in the hospital, and I mean, I want to say it was hour by hour deciding what was going to happen. It was probably more like every 4 hours because that's when I got the labs taken. I got blood drawn every 2 to 4 hours, depending. And they said they wanted me to stay there until 30 weeks, 32 weeks. Um, but we finally everyone kept saying that. We finally asked the doctor, okay, you want me to do that, but what is the reality? And he said, okay, the reality is probably more like days
Yeah.
and not weeks. So that was hard to hear because I was only 26 weeks pregnant. So I'm sure he was uh, all there, but his chances are so slim. He was still really small. He was still a pound. So it was basically just seeing if my blood pressure would stabilize long enough to get him to grow some more, or if any of the other labs would fluctuate. So eventually, my blood pressure kept rising and stopped responding to medication, and my platelets kept dropping. They had a couple really big drops at one time, and that's when they decided that we needed to deliver. And within like 30 hours, it went from you're not going to be able to deliver because your platelets too low. And then they went back up. So they said, okay, you're going to have a completely natural, non-medicated delivery because you can't have this other stuff. I've never had a baby before, so I don't know any of the lingo or what they're saying. I'm just like, okay, whatever, I don't know. And then right after that, they put me on the magnesium, which is just terrible. And um, the attendee said that I was going to deliver right then naturally. And then 20 minutes later, she came in and said, never mind. So I got taken off of it. And then I think the doctor had wanted to run the labs again, and they kind of checked out to wait a little bit longer. So then the next day they said, okay, your platelets are dropping. We have to do it now. And you are going to have a C-section, but you're going to be awake still. It's just going to be the local anesthetic.
Mhm.
And then, so my husband got all suited up and everything. And then when we were being rolled out, the labs came in again, and the platelets were too low to have the
The operation.
final thing because they didn't want me to bleed into my spine and become paralyzed. That's what they told me, wheeling me into the room. So I had to be put under completely, and my husband wasn't allowed in the room. So that was the first time I was alone, and probably the first time I was scared. The whole time I just didn't know what was happening. And, they're just saying, concentrate on being calm and we're going to grow the baby. And then all of a sudden I'm in an operating room naked and it's cold. And the lady is just holding all the knives, counting them to the doctor. So I just kept asking the lady if I was going to die. And she said no. So that was a little reassuring, but I didn't really believe her. But they were trying to not let the anesthesia get to him. So I had to go under like right before he was going to start. And so he, had the things up. I mean, I had the screen up, but he was right there. I went under and they started. And then he came out and he was breathing. My husband followed him to the NICU and got to spend some time with him there until I woke up.
Do you remember how you felt going under and knowing that your baby was going to be born? Do you remember the feelings of all that?
I think because I was so, I don't know if just unknowing, I just didn't know anything about babies and birthing and prematurity, because you hear all these great stories about success stories and miracle babies, and my baby was 1 pound and now he's 18, and all those type of things. I mean, I know people personally who've had that. So I honestly just wasn't that nervous because I mean, we're in America. All these people sound like they know what they're doing. The NICU people came and talked to us. I got all of the steroid injections that I was supposed to get. I felt like I'm a relatively healthy person. I really thought everything was going to be okay. So I was kind of excited to meet him.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think I knew to be scared. So I was like, oh wow, we get to meet him early. That's about what I thought. I mean, I was nervous, but I don't think I was nervous that it wasn't going to be okay. I just thought it was going to be scary for a while.
So then you come out of anesthesia, your baby's in the NICU, your husband's probably doing the dance between the NICU and you.
Yeah.
And tell us about this chapter.
So I wake up and Dietrich's there, which I thought he wasn't going to be. I thought he was going to be with him. I didn't know how much time had passed, but he had already been up there and spent a lot of time with him and asked a bunch of questions. I think he was 1 pound 3 ounces, and but they said it in grams when he came out. It was like 530, 580, something like that. And we had read the day before that under 500 grams, it was really, really slim chances for babies to either make it or be fully
Right.
okay. So my husband said that was one of the things he said to me was that his heart just sank when as he came out of they were rushing him out of the room, and they said, Dietrich said, is he breathing? How much does he weigh? And they said, he's breathing, but he's 580 grams or 530. And he said he kind of lost it right then. His heart sank because he knew that that 500 mark just stuck in his mind. So he was definitely scared. Um, and then I woke up and remember us talking, and then the next thing I remember was meeting Azzi, and they wheeled the whole thing up in there, and I just remember trying to get the thing off of my finger because I just wanted to, just wanted to grab his little hand or have him grab my finger. And so there's like pictures of me. I'm like, I just want to touch him. I want to see him. So I
Did you know he was going to be a little boy?
yes, we knew he was going to be a boy. Um,
Did you have
and
a name picked out?
we had a bunch of potential names for girls. Even though we knew he was going to be a boy, we just didn't have a lot of names, and we had some thoughts. And then the day or two before, we were like, we should really think about this. It might be happening sooner than we think. So we had an idea, and then but we didn't want to make sure. We didn't want to say that was the name until we saw him.
Hmm.
And so we saw him then, and then once I was wheeled back down, we talked about it. We still really liked the name, but I said I want to see him one more time before we say it's official because I was still kind of dazed.
Hmm.
I was still on magnesium and coming off of anesthesia. So, but
You wanted him to tell you his name.
yes, I did, and he did. It was we his pretty much his name is Azzi, but his full name is Azariah Ricky. Ricky is my father's name, and he passed away in 2013. So he's super special. I've always liked his name, so that's his middle name, Ricky.
Azariah Ricky. It's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So he obviously spent time in the NICU, and then so tell us about that. Did he have? I know you were very concerned about his weight because he obviously suffered from what's called intrauterine growth restriction on
Right.
top of being early. Did he have a fighting chance? Did you feel like he was in there and you had hope for a while, or how did that whole experience go for you?
I think I thought it was going to be easier to be with him and talk to him and see him grow. But every time we went into the NICU, it's just a scary place. All these beeps are beeping, and you know, while we were there, several babies just kind of stop breathing, and they pat him on the butt, and they start breathing again. Like it's just a terrifying place. And he was just so much smaller than I ever expected. When they try to, compare them to a fruit or something, I don't think I don't know. You could hold a banana and still not know what a kid looks like as long as a banana.
Right.
So he was just so small, and he had so many things hooked up to him. They were all just measurement devices. All he had was one thing in his foot. He was on his own breathing for, I think, around a day, and then they just started the CPAP, which just helps,
Hmm.
I guess. And then he had to be put on a breathing machine. So that was huge. And right there. And that's just kind of scary as well. But, there's a nurse running around his thing 24/7, and, we got to feed him and change his diaper. But I mean, his diaper was like this small and big on him. So I think just being in there, we were pretty much crying the whole time. And, we really felt bad, but I just didn't feel like I was just going to break down there. So we had to leave and come back a lot. Um, it was just so hard to see him in there. But I think that's what I would, if I could change something, I know that's not a thing, or what I would suggest to other moms, as much as you can, be there with them. Um, they need your support, and I wish I had more time with him. I mean, I was definitely freaking out, but uh, I would have loved if I just sat there a little bit longer. Um, but yeah, so he did have a fighting chance. The nurses, after he passed away, the nurses, like several of them said they didn't expect that. They thought he was going to be okay. They all, they said it was an uphill battle. They said it was going to be hard and it was going to take a long time. But when he passed away, the doctor said she didn't know why. And the nurses said they weren't expecting that. So we did eventually, they did an autopsy, so they figured out why he had an infection.
Mm.
And one of the side effects of the breathing machine is having like a bubble, I guess an air bubble between your lungs or something. And so they were, the morning that he passed away, they were trying to make that go away, and they couldn't. And so that kind of,
Contributed to it, maybe. Yeah. You made a comment like, if I could change anything, but of course I can't. I want to challenge you to actually rethink that paradigm, because while you can't go back and change anything that happened in the past, your own experiences can really help other families, and possibly help doctors and nurses understand what that experience was like through your lens. And everybody doesn't have the exact same experience. I don't even mean just like what happens, but literally how you process it.
right.
But every time you tell your story through your lens, without any apology of what you knew or didn't know, or what you did or didn't do, but just put it out there, it helps people. It helps the providers who are trying to optimize these situations, not just medically, but emotionally.
Mm.
And then, like you said, helping other patients. Like, if I could do anything differently, I would do, XYZ. Those what if lessons. I was once counseled not to what if, because you will emotionally just beat yourself up over something that you can't do anything about. And I take a little bit of exception with that, because I think some of those what if questions lead you to change that can happen
Mm-hmm.
for others, or even for yourself for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of them, yes, throw them out. They're just, we carry guilt and blame. I think it's wired into our DNA as mothers that
Mm-hmm.
we can't ever get away from that. But there's certain things like, as hard as it is, spend a little bit more time. And even if you're there, crying with your baby, just being in his or her presence, is something that you wish you would have done. Um, Other people might learn from that. You might have learned from someone else saying, this is what my experience was like. All the experiences aren't the hopeful ones. Experiences come in all shades. Some of them are hopeful, some of them are devastating. Um, there's something in all of them for you to learn from. But it sounds like for you, one of the experiences that came out of this was maybe, I'm not going to put the words in your mouth, so I want you to explain how it felt. But the fact that you want to do this ride to support research
Mm-hmm.
says something about what this experience meant to you.
What me and my husband say is that, and we assume we attribute it a lot to the Preeclampsia Foundation and the effort that you guys have put in over the past however many years. But the system worked for us, getting me there and not letting me die. Um, personally, I had great care, and my, I mean, the word preeclampsia and its symptoms made it onto my pregnancy email. An article about preeclampsia made it into the Reader's Digest, and my friend told me about it, like friends are supposed to do. And then she told me to call the doctor, like friends are supposed to do. And as soon as I mentioned the symptoms, I didn't ever say the word because I was trying to be like, oh, this isn't happening to me. So I just told the nurse my symptoms. She immediately told me to come in. They did exactly what they were supposed to. They checked the blood pressure twice. It was over a certain amount. They sent me to the hospital. They knew it like right away. They knew what was wrong. So I know I've heard a lot of other stories about how doctors missed it, or women didn't know the signs, or it
They
was
didn't treat your blood
postpartum.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yep, some of those things. Yep.
Yeah. So there's so many stories I've heard where the system didn't work, it failed them. And I know that patient advocacy and awareness to doctors and getting the bundles out to hospitals, like all of that is really important. And it worked in my case. I'm shocked because we live in rural Southwest Virginia. I didn't expect to get better care than, someone in a big city, but we did. And, the doctors were always talking to us, not that we always knew what they were talking about, but they told us everything. They really, really tried to save Azzi. Like, they were dedicated to Azzi, which to me was also shocking because I just assumed that in the medical business you just get callous to things, or people assume that you want to live and you don't care about your baby. I don't know, these are just stories I hear, but they were dedicated to helping Azzi. So all of those things I think worked like they should, but there was still nothing they could do for Azzi.
Right.
And that's why I'm dedicated to research, and the ride is for research, because there's nothing they could do to help me, besides blood pressure medication, and then it stopped working.
Yep.
So they couldn't give him any nutrients because, I couldn't give him any nutrients, and that's, the main thing. He was growth restricted because he just wasn't getting that from me, but they couldn't give him anything, and they couldn't keep him in there. They still couldn't do anything even though they knew what was wrong.
Yep. I literally have tingles in my body right now because you are perfectly illustrating why the problem of preeclampsia, and we talk about this a lot at the Preeclampsia Foundation, it really runs down two parallel paths. And one of those paths is we know some things and we need to do them right. We need to do them consistently. We need to make sure that every single person in the healthcare system knows what those correct things are to do, that quality is consistently, universally applied, whether you live in a big city, whether you live in rural Southwest Virginia, whether you're at a teaching hospital or a community hospital, anywhere along the continuum of pregnancy, that there are things that need to happen. And that's sort of the one parallel, the one path, which is let's make sure that we're doing everything we know correctly and consistently. And the other path is that even if you do all of that perfectly every time, every woman, every pregnancy, there are still things that we do not know and understand about how to prevent this and how to treat it. And that squarely falls into the realm of research and diagnosing and treating and preventing in a way that saves the lives of our babies. So I'm incredibly grateful that your providers did everything right. I think that's a beautiful testament to what we are fighting for. And I know which article you're talking about in Reader's Digest because we contributed to that being in there, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that your friend had the presence of mind to speak out, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to upset her or whatever. And that's not our job. Our job is to care for one another and help each other through life, together.
What does a bicycle ride do for anything? But it gets it publicity, which I don't want to be seen everywhere, but I want other moms not to lose their babies, more than anything else. It's been the worst thing ever. So doing something weird like biking across the country and having an empty baby seat, it just gets people's attention, and I want to get their attention so they know the signs of preeclampsia, to know themselves, to tell their friends, and for doctors to know the signs. And then I also want people to donate once they know what we're talking about, and that it saves moms and babies.
So Carlie, you're going to be biking. What is it going to be, about 3,000 miles altogether? Have you route? Do you know how many miles exactly?
Somewhere in between 28 and 32. Yeah,
Okay, so
so 3,000.
3,000 miles. So what kind of person jumps on a bike and bikes 3,000 miles? What does it take? What's it going to take for you to do this?
Um, I've thought about that too, because I don't know if I should say this, but I hate biking. Like, I really don't like. It's not that I hate it, I just don't like it. I wanted to walk across the country. I love walking, but that would take way too long. Nobody has that kind of time. And I want to be with my husband, and he works. So I decided I would bike. And my husband has biked across the country too, so it was more palatable for me. I knew that that could be done. So typically, people who like biking would think biking across the country would be fun. I think it's going to be slightly terrible, but I do like traveling, so I love meeting new people, seeing new sights, trying new coffee, all that kind of stuff, which we wanted to do with Azzi one day. I think the thing that's going to keep me on the bike is Azzi's thinking about Azzi every day, and knowing that we're doing this for him. And if he was here, we'd be doing it with him. Um, and we want any other parents that want to bike across the country with their kids to be able to do that and not have to bike with an empty seat.
What's your financial goal?
It started out as $9,000, which is $3 per mile for the 3 days that Azzi was with us, and then we'd be covering 3,000 miles, so it's 9,000.
So let me challenge you to challenge the world to raise 20,000. $20,000 will fund an entire vision grant. We try to give out 2 a year, and they are to young investigators with new ideas. They're bringing new ways of thinking to the problem. You will have a specific researcher doing a particular study that you can really be connected to. That would be really cool.
That would be awesome. Like, at the beginning, I didn't want to be happy because I wanted to be I just wanted to be sad, but I wanted to be close to that emotion that I last felt with Azzi. And I felt bad laughing without him. And then, yeah, I didn't want my grief to go away. I didn't want to work on that. I didn't want to be happy because I don't know, I wanted that there. So I think that not being strong doesn't negate your grief. I think that is
Exactly.
really good.
That's a powerful lesson. If you've already learned that, then you're already ahead of the game for so many people, because it's absolutely true. And that experience of, like, my sadness is my connection to my child. And if I lose that, I'm going to forget him. I'm going to move on. I'm going to whatever. And those aren't connected. You will always remember him, and you can still heal. You can
Mm-hmm.
still move through this. You won't ever get over it. You will move through it, and he will always be part of your family. I mean, if you choose to do that, different families, I guess, choose different things. We have chosen to make our daughter's life very much a part of our family, and her brothers know that they have a sister in heaven, and that's forevermore. She is part of our lives.
Yeah.
And doing what you're doing is healthy. It's healthy because, eating muffins is only going to contribute to the downward spiral. And
Yes, it
what
is.
you're doing is absolutely healthy. It's empowering, and it's saying, like, I can be strong even with my grief. It doesn't negate your grief. It just allows you to channel it in a really good way.
Right. Right.
So who are your heroes?
In life,
Yeah.
I'd say, I mean, Dietrich, my husband, I don't want to be super mushy, but he's like my inspiration for everything. He thinks about other people before himself. Of course, he has pride, but he's super humble and so smart. And anything that I want to do, he's going to do it. He's going to get it done. He's going to find a way to make my dreams come true. That he has said that is his life goal, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so he is just such a giving person, and I was so excited to make little Dietrichs because I think the world should be filled with Dietrichs because he's just amazing. So number one is probably Dietrich. My family, I mean, my both of our extended families are just really there. They're supportive. Um, I don't know if I can say like one person in particular, but just his whole family, my whole family, they've always been there throughout our lives. We're really close with them. Like our immediate family and our extended family, cousins, we always hang out. Um, you know, they were the first people who said they wanted to ride with me was Dietrich's brother, you know. So, and my brother and his wife and two kids are going to ride a mile every day that we're gone. Um, and my mom is going to ride the last week with me. And, you know, she's over 60 or 60. I don't know. So, you know, they're dedicated to us. They're helpful people. They're loving. They've always been there for us. I think as humans, love and presence, I guess, is just what everyone craves. And they do that spot on.
Well, I think that there are a lot of people who will be super inspired um, to join in some aspect of this project. You won't be alone on that bike. You will definitely not be alone on that bike. If nothing else, you know that that Azzi's going to be virtually in that bike seat. You think it's empty, but it's really not.
Yeah.
It's filled with the spirits of his soul, and so probably millions of other babies who have been lost to those of us who had that terrible tragedy. Um, but this is like a huge. I mean, you're a hero. You are being your son's hero right now by doing something with your grief. And I think that you need to reach over here and give yourself a pat for being a hero to so many other people as well.
I do think often about wanting to make Azzy proud. And if he was here, um, you know, the decisions I make, like, you know, the first like 6 months, just not leaving the house and eating all the muffins I could shove in my mouth and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, Azzy would not want this for me. He would want me to be healthy and strong and tell people about his story and help other people like him. So stopped eating muffins every day. And I hope Azzy's really proud of that. And I started going to the gym and training for this. Not necessarily on the bike because, like I said, I don't like biking, but I've been going to the gym and trying to get some strength, trying to eat better, going to see counselors, talking more with friends, just trying to do all the things that I think would make me a healthier person and a healthier mom. Because I think Azzy would want that, and I think he would be proud of that change because he would want me to be a good mom to his siblings.
Mhm.
So if we want to have more kids, you know, they need a healthy mom. So
And that's probably the bravest, strongest thing that you can do is to um, to not sink under the weight of this, but to swim and to swim strong. And you're doing that. So I'm incredibly proud of you. I did not have that strength in the first year after my loss. It was a really devastating year. I don't remember if I ate muffins, but I certainly did whatever the equivalent is of eating muffins every day.
yeah,
And yeah, it's you're the kind of you're being the kind of person that your son would want you to be, no doubt, and that you're inspiring. You're going to be inspiring to other people too. Unfortunately, many moms undergo this tragedy, and some sink under the weight of it, and some rise and say, screw this, we're going to make this better. So thank you for being one of the ones that says, do it.
Yep.
Well, you've got a huge team behind you here at the Preeclampsia Foundation, and I say that universally. I don't just mean like staff here at the office. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a huge community around the world actually
Yeah.
supporting you and applauding you. So rock on, baby. We're going to do this. We're going to do this.